When it comes to the cities in Like a Dragon, there are certain things that we have come to expect as fans of the series. For example, the fact that Kamurocho may never truly be absent from the franchise because of how iconic it was during the Kiryu saga. On the other hand, we can also expect that Isezaki Ijincho will serve as a similar centerpiece for the series moving forward, considering the amount of time dedicated to it in Yakuza 7 and even spin-offs like Lost Judgment and Gaiden. Now, while we were fortunate enough to have seen a total of 9 districts in the mainline entries between the first game and Yakuza 7, the districts themselves received varying degrees of praise from the core community. Less than half of them have actually appeared in more than a single game, which begs the question, which of the following could be this forgotten city or district that I'm alluding to in the title? Well, for the purposes of today's discussion, we will be focusing on none other than Shinseicho, the Osaka-based district only featured in Yakuza 2. It is a map that you will rarely see brought up in modern fan discourse unless the topic of discussion pertains to cut content from Kiwami 2. Yet, there's something quite unique about the atmosphere Shinseicho exudes, as well as the role it plays in the progression of Yakuza 2's narrative. So, for anyone unfamiliar with the intricacies of that particular game, let's first go over the premise behind this district's inclusion. Much like Sotenbori, Shinseicho is located in the Kansai region, with this particular district being based off of the real-life district of Shinsekai. This area could first be explored during chapter 11 of the story, where Kiryu and Sayama are trying to track down a person of interest who used to be in the Jinwon Mafia. I won't go over the actual step-by-step process of progressing the story here, cause that's not really the point of this segment. What's important is the role Shinseicho plays in the ludonarrative value of the exploration. Much like how Kiryu and Sayama are traversing an area vastly unknown to them, trying to collect valuable info on the Jinwon, you as the player will feel the same lack of direction, which will push you to improvise on the spot while navigating this district. Unlike the old reliable Kamurocho and Sotenbori, you don't know where the fight spawns here may be, or what the best restaurants for the purposes of cost-effective healing are. All you have to go off in the beginning is your intuition and observation skills. Now, this is something that could become troublesome in theory, assuming the district itself featured far too many new additions or had a complex map layout. But Shinseicho is fairly straight to the point, meaning it will serve a very specific purpose without overstaying its welcome. Think of it like the city of Tosa in Ishin. It's a bite-sized experience that stands on its own, as part of the greater journey we undergo, with both the symbolic value of the game's story and even Ishin's replayability being vastly embellished through its unique inclusion. So, back to Shinseicho, if this area really served a very specific purpose, and wasn't as demanding to recreate as a regular-sized map, then why did it get left behind from the remake of Yakuza 2? Well, there's a few reasons that come to mind. First off, Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2 seem to have been worked on simultaneously, so between working on a brand new engine, having to build both Kamurocho and Sotenbori from scratch, and also constructing the skeleton for the Majima saga, the team probably didn't have the time to recreate Shinseicho in a satisfying manner that was up to their standards. To be fair, the district indeed only appeared in a single game, and due to its peculiar nature and size, the potential reusability of it was probably brought into question as well, thus putting it much lower on the already large list of priorities. Hell, not even Ryuji's side story in RGG Online featured Shinseicho. So even if this narrative had been sketched out in time for the remake, in place of the Majima saga, it still wouldn't have been feasible for the team to bring this particular district back. That aside, I still do adore this map for a number of reasons. So let's now go over the different amenities it features. In Shinseicho, you will find the following. One convenience store in the form of M-Store on the south end of the district. 2 restaurants in the form of Yoteya, located in the center, and Zuboraya, which is your nearest point of interest upon exiting the taxi. The Yotsuba Acupuncture Clinic, near the save point to the east. Keima, a shogi parlor where you can challenge a number of different players in the north of the map. And finally, the landmark tower known as Tsutenkak, which is your northmost point of interest in Shinseicho. On paper, it feels pretty scarce, with locales like M-Store and Zubaraya also being present elsewhere in Yakuza 2. But then we get to the unique establishments. Yoteya is a restaurant originally introduced as part of the breadcrumb trail that we are to follow in order to progress the story. It has a total of 10 beef-based items on its menu, alongside a special kind of order that's exclusive to the critical path progression, with said order having a shogi tile hidden in its contents. Then of course, there's the Yotsuba acupuncture clinic, which functions similarly to its analog in Kiwami 2, where it allows you to unlock some classic moves you've learned in the original Yakuza. Specifically, 4 moves from the Komaki School of Martial Arts, including the awe-inspiring Tiger Drop. Also, by choosing the hard course at Yotsuba, you will get a full health and heat gauge refill at a lesser cost than any recovery item with identical properties in Yakuza 2, making it a handy choice if you are in a financial pinch at this point in the game. Now, with regards to Keima, frankly, I don't have that much to add, seeing as how I'm not that big on shogi as a whole, though the fact that the opponents here have some range in their individual ranks, and in turn the perceived CPU difficulty, might be more than enough to entice fans of this minigame to travel all the way to Shinseicho to retain their esteemed title of Shogi Overlords. Shame this isn't a secret mahjong parlor, cause then I'd probably spend the next 15 minutes talking about each individual opponent, their strategies, and even make up some strange backstories for them. Oh well, maybe Gaiden delivers on that front instead. Back to our virtual tour. Tsutenkak Tower is an interesting addition to the map, with it even retaining its real-life namesake here in Yakuza 2. While the only thing you will find here outside the critical path will be a locker key and a uniquely looking shrine, there is something oddly relaxing about the way this area is designed, and frankly, this sentiment doubles for most of the interiors in Shinseicho. Perhaps, if you could use each of the tower viewers to show different parts of the district from an elevated perspective, RGG could have used this to hide some cool little Easter eggs for us to find as well. After all, you could interact with one of the viewers in such a way while progressing through the story. So who knows if there's something still hidden here that we just haven't come across yet. Kind of like the Chohan dealer date in Yakuza 5. Apart from these establishments, you can naturally find some neat little locker keys around every corner. There's 10 of them in total, and they mainly reward you with a variety of weapons. Oh, and also a substitute stone, stamina spark, fighter's binding, southpaw bracelet, and calming towel, assuming that I'm reading this guide correctly. Considering the condensed size of the map, you'll find most of these fairly quickly, meaning that you'll leave Shinseicho with a ton of new toys without needing to stray too far from the critical path. Between all of that, a handful of unique heat actions you could do, and a handful of sub-stories, one of which even has a properly animated cutscene, I'd say Shinseicho does a great job at making you want to explore every nook and cranny, while genuinely feeling rewarding as well. Normally, I wouldn't have listed things off in a seemingly haphazard manner to present a given topic, but considering the general absence of content on this particular district on YouTube, I found it imperative to do so in order to present Shinseicho for what it is. And now that we've seen it for what it is, unique content and all, you can probably guess why it isn't talked about very often. So then, why did I make a whole video around it? Because even with its small scale and simplistic layout, traversing the streets of Shinseicho still feels very memorable. I'm admittedly a sucker for any unique environment in this series, whether it be Kamurocho Hills, the Cabaret Grand post Yakuza 0, the Tojo Clan headquarters, even Chiba in Lost Judgment. All of these are instantly recognizable places and can only be visited in specific games or at specific story points. The mere fact that you can only see them so briefly makes what little time you have to spend here feel much more valuable, which is a sentiment I'm sure to mirror in subsequent district analyses. Even without the feeling of novelty surrounding it, there's some rather peculiar design choices present here, like the modern color palette being somewhat comparable to the market portion of Onomichi, or perhaps the tight floor plan with a tower looming over the area feeling like a precursor to a district like Tsukimino. Except here, you aren't swarmed with enemy encounters nearly as frequently, and you can actually visit the aforementioned tower yourself. Hell, thanks to the neon lights adorning the district similarly to Sotenbori, your experience of Shinseicho may even drastically differ solely due to the time of day at which you decided to visit it. I find it hard to explain what makes me return to this place so often, and why it stands out to me as much as the many other beautiful environments of the series, but it simply does. Arguably the biggest thing to lament about its absence from the remake is the strong possibility that this humble basis could have been expanded upon in some way. Imagine the view from Tsitenkak with the first-person perspective, or perhaps taking a selfie with Sayama there. Imagine if you could enter each individual area and stumble across an incredibly detailed, yet unused room that could wind up a focal point for a future Dragon Engine game. Whatever the case may be, I'm genuinely grateful that RGG took their time back in 2006 to give us yet another unique environment, even if it did only appear once in the series. So, if you have a PS2 copy of Yakuza 2, or perhaps the HD collection for the PlayStation 3, maybe you should pay Shinseicho a visit. Maybe you'll even find something to it that has eluded both me and many of the other fans of the older games. Either way, I hope this video was, at the very least, somewhat enjoyable for you. If there are any specific topics you'd like to see from me, let it be known in the comments. I'm currently working on a number of projects to hopefully release this year, like a Halloween special that's even stranger than this particular video. So I hope that you'll look forward to all of these ventures to be as much as I do. Anyway, that's all for today. So, until next time, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Cheers!